of man crawls into his own grave in search of hope.
Could you please give us your name?
Jeffrey Epstein.
Who, until now, had been largely untouchable.
Is it true, sir, that you have what's been described as an egg-shaped penis?
Form, vague, and definite, and I'm going to give you the first warning, Mr. Coogan.
What's going on, everybody? This is another episode of Static Sessions, and I'm your host, Jay Boogie, and this is the Lights Out Radio Show. I hope everybody, man, have a happy new year. Have a happy new year. Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. I wish you all a blessed and bountiful New Year's. Happy 2022. Celebrate tonight. Have a blast. Have fun. Celebrate the past. Celebrate, the past year. Celebrate it. Celebrate what's coming to you. Celebrate your future successes. And so be safe, everybody. Use your brain. Don't get in any kind of stupid trouble tonight that you could have avoided. Stay out of trouble. Be safe. And have a happy 2022, everybody. Yeah. So since this video is a lot longer than I wanted it to be, we're going to jump into it without any further delay. Normally with something this complicated, I would break it down into sections and topics and individuals. But with this, the video covers all of this, so it flows better when I put it all together. So anyway, but it's a lot longer than I expected, so I'm going to do a lot less talking. So Ghislaine Maxwell, she got her guilty verdict, right? Look for her to make some kind of deal. She's going to strike some kind of deal, right? It's going to happen. She'll probably get a sweetheart deal. She's a fall guy. She's a fall guy, in my opinion. The moment she did not testify, I knew what the jig was. I knew what was going on. The only time, and something like this with this many people and these high names and everything else, like if you don't stand up to testify, there's a reason why. You're getting something out of it. Something's going to happen. So look for a sweet deal. I could be wrong, but I guess we'll see come sentencing. She may get some kind of deal, and with these things, it'll live plush. And I say that to say this, because in 2008, Epstein got caught, right? For those who don't know, Epstein got caught for all this already in Florida. He made a deal with the government, a fucking sweet deal, by the way. So the video is going to play into that and cover some names of who's been covered by it. But you guys be the judge. You let me know. What do we do about it? We just take it and move on with our life, hoping that it doesn't affect us, I guess. But anyway, you guys let me know. That's enough talking. Lights Out Radio, baby. Yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein went to jail just before 10 this morning. He pleaded guilty in open court. He agreed to serve a total of 18 months in the Palm Beach detention facility, 12 for felony solicitation of prostitutes, and an additional 6 for procuring persons under 18 for prostitution. The conviction stemmed from several incidents from August of 2004 to October of 2005. The prosecuting attorney would not say how many female victims there are. She would only say there was more than one adult victim and more than one underaged victim.
They started finding somewhere 40 to 45 girls.
That in absolute secret, the U.S. government negotiated a deal that forgave multi-billionaire Jeff Epstein for procuring sex with about 40 children. Some as young as 12 years old were trafficked from other countries to other countries. The deal that allowed Epstein to serve only 13 months in a special private wing of the Palm Beach jail where he was allowed to leave every day for 16 hours. Basically, he only slept there. It carried the possibility for everybody else who wasn't a billionaire life in prison.
What is your view of authorities signing up to that? That they're happy to protect a perpetrator at the cost of the victims. They won't even tell the victims what's going on.
It was astonishing at the time, but I know for a fact that the directive to shut it down came from the highest levels from D.C.
Former Miami U.S. Attorney and now Trump administration's Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta was the leader behind the secret deal.
It happened 12 or 15 years ago with respect to when he was a U.S. Attorney, I think in Miami. Is it Miami?
Yes,
if you go back and look at everybody else's decisions, whether it's a U.S. attorney or an assistant U.S. attorney or a judge, you go back 12 or 15 years ago or 20 years ago and look at their past decisions, I would think you'd probably find that they would wish they maybe did it a different way. I do hear that there were a lot of people involved in that decision, not just him. I can only say this from what I know.
The disgusting plea deal that was made by the government violated the Crime Victims' Rights Act when it made a plea deal with Epstein without informing anybody about what was going on.
This
is where Jeffrey Epstein served his sentence, but really, he only slept here. If Epstein had been your average sex offender, he would have automatically been denied work release. But instead, being Epstein, he was allowed out 6 and then 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Driven by chauffeur to his downtown office, where it said he was attended to by 2 young victims he flew in from New York. Back here at the jail, the special treatment extended to being housed in his own private wing, protected by his own private bodyguards. So for Jeffrey Epstein, this prison sentence was pretty much business as usual.
The senator writes the allegations related to serial sex predator Jeffrey Epstein assaulting young girls while serving on work release under the jurisdiction of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office are alarming. If true, this shows yet another breakdown of the systems dealing with this pedophilic abuser. We are calling for accountability on all fronts, and to that end, I am formally requesting you to direct the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to investigate this matter. Contact 5 uncovered that while Jeffrey Epstein was on work release, he was allowed to get picked up by his private driver, sometimes in a limo, and transported to his office in West Palm Beach.
Epstein's former pilot said that many of the most powerful politicians in the country, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, flew aboard Epstein's private plane. The pilot, Larry Vysotsky, said that he was given a notice in advance if Clinton or other high-profile passengers would be aboard. He also named Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, Maine Senator George Mitchell, Ohio Senator John Glenn, and the actor Kevin Spacey as passengers aboard the so-called Lolita Express.
Before I gave him a hand job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said, you need to use a glove. And the recruiter, he ran over and handed me a glove and said, no one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove. So I needed to use a glove. I gave him a hand job, and then immediately after, he had an orgasm, he left, and I didn't see him again at that party. Jeffrey Epstein is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that was responsible for throwing the sex parties. He'd see me, he would say, oh man, you look, and it wasn't like oh, you remind me of my daughter. It was this sick, evil, like, you remind me of my daughter.
You are special. You remind me of my daughter.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
It was just this weird pleasure, sick smile. Like I don't even want to know what he was thinking about. I could imagine what he was thinking about. After the parties would end, we were to report to Mr. Epstein and basically tell him everything that happened, with who, what they liked, what they disliked, if there was any requests, if there was any talk about anything. That's what, we told Mr. Epstein everything.
Now, at this point, I think it is important to note that I scoured the internet, right? So this woman, this lady, Jane Doe, as she was known, filed a case against Epstein and Trump in California. Now, that case was dismissed. They said all I could find really, this stuff has been purged. It is so hard to find anything worthwhile on this. So her case was dismissed because something about the wrong statutes being named in the court documents or something, so they dismissed it. I don't know, but that's what it says. That's all I could find, and I couldn't really even find proof of it, just different people saying stuff. And then she went on to file again under another pseudonym, Katie Johnson, in New York. Now this case, she pulled herself. She withdrew it. She was supposed to do a press conference. She ended up getting threats and scared for her life and all this and that and the other. And that's all I could really find. And then it just kind of disappeared after she failed to show up to her press conference because she was getting threats and everything else. She was scared for her life. And then she withdrew the charges against Epstein and Trump. And then just kind of disappeared. I can't really find anything. The Daily Mail came out with an article saying that everything was a lie and this and that, but I can't find any proof of any kind of court documents or any kind of write-ups or anything that actually prove what they're saying. So it is what it is, I guess. But I just wanted to take this time out to point this out. So there's really nothing, there's nothing out there to really find worthwhile. I'm good at connecting dots, but it just goes cold, to be honest.
Here's the crucial part. Why was the lawsuit dropped? Why was the case dismissed from court? Because this woman was afraid that she was going to be killed. And if you know anything about the Jeffrey Epstein case, if you know anything about how much money and power was supporting Donald Trump, it is not unreasonable that she was afraid that she was going to be killed. Someone stole her car and her cell phone. They received threats.
Trump accusers that I have represented. She is living in fear. She has decided that she is too afraid to show her face. She's been here all day, ready to do it, but unfortunately, she is in terrible fear. So we're going to have to reschedule. I apologize to all of you who came for this inconvenience.
But wait, there's so much more.
There's some other stuff. And a lot of this was known, but we didn't have the full documents. We knew that Virginia Giuffre had made this accusation. But this one is about Bill Clinton. And again, this is a total bombshell. So let's throw that up there on the screen. And look, according to this interview, Bill Clinton was at Epstein's Island with Epstein, Maxwell, and, quote, 2 young girls. Now, there's no allegation here of sexual impropriety. President Clinton has denied on numerous occasions that he was ever on this Little St. Jeffrey's, I think is what it was called, that island in the Virgin Islands that was owned by Jeffrey Epstein. However, remember that from that Netflix documentary, with many of its flaws, as I know I've heard from so many of you, they still had that interview with the IT technician for Jeffrey Epstein, who said somewhere between, I think it was the 90s and 2005, so assumption is after Clinton left office, that he was seen just hanging out with Epstein on the veranda on Epstein's favorite part of the island. Again, not an accusation of sexual impropriety, of nothing, just that he was there.
And that conflicts, and what's critical here is that conflicts with what he has said.
Yeah,
he
President Clinton says he's never been on this island. And
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Is allegations from Virginia Giuffre that Bill Clinton was, in fact, on the island, which is something that he has denied, which now makes it 2 individuals between Virginia Giuffre and also the worker on the island who reportedly placed Bill Clinton there.
These allegations are false.
A former Secret Service agent is threatening to release damaging information on former President Bill Clinton. Dan Bongino says he may release information on Clinton's 26 documented trips on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet, the Lolita Express.
I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false.
A jet accusers say was equipped for sex with underage victims and was used to travel to Epstein's private island, nicknamed Orgy Island. Newly obtained documents show Clinton actually took at least 26 flights on Epstein's private jet to spots around the globe, though apparently not after Epstein's plea deal and jail time. On at least 5 occasions that they did travel together, Secret Service did not accompany Clinton.
You don't just dismiss Secret Service detail. Paperwork has to be filed. There's an accounting of why the dismissal. In this case, there isn't paperwork, and the Secret Service is not responding to the FOIA requests.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Ms. Lewinsky that was not appropriate. In fact, it was wrong. I misled people, including even my wife. I deeply regret that.
That Cuban says also offered immunity to all parties that helped to orchestrate these alleged sex crimes.
We also got some more information about Prince Andrew. Let's throw that one up. Okay, we've put this photo on the screen a number of times during this show. That is Prince Andrew with his arm wrapped around Virginia Giuffre when she is only a teenager. Of course, he has very non-credibly denied ever knowing her. And
he says that's a fake. He claims that that photo is a fake. All right,
yes.
Sure.
Okay, well, so apparently, and this is what's new here, we learned that the FBI had this photo in their possession for years.
2011.
Virginia has named the men she was trafficked to in documents lodged with the courts. The name that has caused the greatest splash is Prince Andrew. The pair captured in this now infamous photograph taken in 2001.
So as you know, Prince Andrew denies the allegations against him, and he says that this photo is a fake, that he was never there, and that is not his arm,
And they're not his fingers?
Those are his fingers. That is Andrew. This photo has been verified as an original, and it's been since given to the FBI, and they've never contested that it's a fake. And I know it's real. And he needs to stop with all of these lame excuses. We're sick of hearing it. This is a real photo.
And that was the first time you met him?
And that's the very first time I met him. And that's right before I was abused by him.
Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell took the 17-year-old Virginia to London to party with Prince Andrew.
Then we went to Club Tramp, and he danced with me, and he sweats a lot, and he smells funny. And then we get in the car, and Ghislaine tells me in the car that I have to do what I do for Jeffrey for Prince Andrew. And that's when I learned what was going to happen.
How many times were you trafficked to him?
3 times.
While Prince Andrew denies the allegations, Virginia maintains she's telling the truth. After the encounter in London, she says she had sex with him again at Epstein's New York mansion, where she was seen in his company by this witness, Joanna Schoberg, another victim. Schoberg claims Prince Andrew groped her breasts that night. The final time Virginia was trafficked to Prince Andrew was here on Epstein's private island in the Caribbean.
This was part of the non-prosecution agreement, a secret plea deal offered by the U.S. Attorney's Office that Cuban says also offered immunity to all parties that helped to orchestrate these alleged sex crimes.
To Britain now, and a major development concerning Prince Andrew to tell you about this morning. Police there say they will not be pursuing any criminal charges against him. That decision follows a review of sex abuse allegations made against the prince. And that's not all. They have also decided against moving forward with some other claims linked to convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. CBC's Dominic Velitis is tracking this story for us. He joins me now from London. Dominic, walk us through what police there are saying.
Yeah, good morning, Hillary. Well, back in August, the Metropolitan Police announced it would review its decision not to investigate allegations connected to Prince Andrew and the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. At the time, the force's top cop, Dame Cressida Dick, announced no one is above the law. The police's review focused on several documents, Hillary, including one forming part of Virginia Giuffre's U.S. civil lawsuit against Andrew. Now, today, after assessing those documents, the police announced that no further action would be taken. So the British police now ruling out any criminal proceedings against Prince Andrew. Virginia Giuffre's civil case, though, is of course still active. She alleges Prince Andrew sexually assaulted her at Epstein's homes in the US Virgin Islands and Manhattan, and at a third property in London belonging to Ghislaine Maxwell, an associate of Epstein's. It's important to point out, Hillary, that Prince Andrew has consistently denied those allegations. But as I say, Virginia Giuffre is pressing ahead with her civil case, and according to court documents, she is seeking unspecified damages. But there is speculation out there that the figure could be in the millions of dollars. Just one other point to make about the wider case regarding Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The Metropolitan Police here also confirmed today that it would not be taking any further action regarding allegations made by one British news organisation that Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked, groomed and abused women and girls here in the UK. So the British police ruling out any criminal proceedings on that front as well. Hillary.
Okay, thanks so much for this, Dominic.
Part of the non-prosecution agreement, a secret plea deal offered by the U.S. Attorney's Office that Cuban says also offered immunity to all parties that helped to orchestrate these alleged sex crimes.
We no longer believe we can grow together as a couple in this next phase of our lives. The Journal citing several people reporting that one source of concern for Melinda, a global advocate for women and girls, was Bill's dealings with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. According to documents obtained by the Journal, Melinda and her advisors held a number of calls with divorce lawyers in October 2019. The same month, the New York Times first reported that Bill met with Epstein on numerous occasions, starting in 2011, after Epstein had served time for soliciting prostitution.
The Gates justified his dozens of hangouts with Epstein by saying the disgraced pedophile was going to help him get a Nobel Peace Prize. What? Why would a man who had been charged with trafficking underage girls for sex be able to assist with that? Let's dig deeper. So according to the reporting, Gates not only noticed that Epstein was friends with him, but multiple other powerful people. Gates reportedly saw Epstein as his, quote, sure ticket. But the reporting gets even more bizarre. In Gates' bid to get the Nobel Peace Prize, he had a meeting with the head of the Nobel Committee, Mr. Thorbjorn Jagland, in 2013. And guess who facilitated and accompanied Gates in that meeting? Epstein, along with other prominent so-called philanthropists who had been receiving Epstein funding. This is yet another example of this ultimate question. How does he know all of these people? Where did this money come from?
Victoria's Secret billionaire Leslie Wexner is under new scrutiny over his relationship with wealthy sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a series of interviews with the Washington Post, accuser Maria Farmer says she blames Wexner for Epstein's alleged assault from 1996.
Farmer says that she was molested by Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. She says that the assault happened on Wexler's property at the hands of his employees.
Jonathan O'Connell joins us now from Washington. He's a business reporter for the Washington Post and has been following this story. So, Jonathan, explain what Maria Farmer is alleging.
She was living in Jeffrey Epstein's house during the summer of 1996, where he gave her space to work on her artwork. She was a painter. And this is a house that's on this enormous estate owned and built by Leslie Wexner, who is the founder of the company that owns The Limited, Victoria's Secret, and other large clothing brands. And she says that during that entire summer, she was under very close scrutiny, that there was high security around her. Her movements were limited quite closely by the family and their security. And she says she holds Mr. Wexner accountable for the situation she was in.
And so what's that situation? She says she was sexually assaulted by whom?
By Jeffrey Epstein and Miss Maxwell. And she says she immediately ran upstairs after the assault, closed herself in her room, called the local sheriff's office. And this is a complicated situation because the sheriff's office at that time was contracted by Wexner to be guarding his entire estate. So she says that when she called the sheriff's office, they said, well, we already have people there, but that nobody came to help her.
So the sheriff's office was working for Wexner at the time? That's what she's saying?
Yeah, well, the sheriff's office confirmed that they were contracted.
Immunity to all parties that helped to orchestrate these alleged sex crimes.
Allegedly, part of the sick Epstein machine was Jean-Luc Brunel, a model agent based in Paris with access to beautiful young girls. Girls he was happy to deliver to Epstein.
Girls ranged in all different ages. I mean, there were girls as young as 12.
You have no doubt he was having sex with a 12-year-old.
I was told by him that he was having sex with 3 12-year-olds sent by Jean-Luc Brunel. And Jeffrey laughed about it. He laughed. He thought it was funny.
In a motion Tuesday, the accuser's attorneys asked a federal judge to cancel the non-prosecution agreement, or NPA, made about a decade ago. They say the victims' rights were violated when the women were kept in the dark about a secret deal. They also wrote Jane Doe 1 and 2 are entitled to have the court rescind the NPA's provisions, blocking federal prosecution in Florida of his named and unnamed co-conspirators. Monday, Epstein's attorneys argued in favor of the decade-old deal, writing, "Counsel know of no precedent ever where a citizen who fully performed his obligations under a contract with the government and did not breach it was stripped of its benefits."
Earlier this year, Courtney won her case. Keeping the plea deal from the victims was declared illegal. But the rest of it, where Epstein's co-conspirators are protected in Florida by immunity, stands.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!